In this clip, we're going to have a look at the data input file used by our analysis software, SynCaps. SynCaps comes in two versions. Version 1 was obviously our initial version, and that's been around now for almost 5 years. Version 2 came along in early 2009, and there's really no major difference in what the data file looks like for those two versions, but there are some slightly more subtle differences about how in particular items can be identified in version 2. So I'm going to start by talking about the common features, so you don't have to worry about which version I'm referring to in this initial part. And then later on we'll just talk about the minor differences that crop up with version 2. Now, looking at this data file, we're using a very simple application, Windows Notepad. It's a plain text editor. You can use almost any editor as long as it's capable of plain text. The first thing to notice is that it's a very simple file structure. The first character on every line says what kind of information this is. And so, for example, if we start with line 1 here, G says this is a group line. We move down a little bit. I says this is an item line with the word Beaujolais following. And further still, we come down and we see P for participant, and this is participant number 1 in this particular case. Now, what I'd like to do is show you that the file is split logically into two parts, and what to emphasize that, I'm going to just insert a blank line here. You can have blank lines anywhere you like. I don't usually put them in myself, just because I'm used to looking at these things, but if it helps you to separate participants or the header from the rest of the file, then that's absolutely fine. You can insert as many blank lines as you like. The blank line I've inserted here really separates the header, which I just briefly mentioned, from the body of the data. The header is there just to tell SynCaps what items and group names you're using, so that if you want to be able to refer to an item or a group by number, you can do that, and that's really important for the barcode scanning. The barcodes are only ever the letter and the number, so if you, for example, wanted to indicate that this was the Beaujolais item, then you would scan a barcode that referred to item 1, because that is the first item in this list. And so it goes on. So item 2 is Cabernet Sauvignon, item 3 is Cava, and so forth. And so when we look at the body of the data, what we'll see is that rather than referring to the names of items, we're referring purely in this particular example to their numbers. But that means that absolutely everything in this file could have been barcode scanned, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute or two. The other information at the very top of this file is a list of group names, and these are here for exactly the same reason, that if you want to be able to number your groups and barcode read those, then you simply list them in appropriate order at the beginning here. So dry white is going to be group 1, full-bodied red is going to be group 2, and group 3 is going to be sparkling. So those all appear at the top of the file. The most important thing here isn't the blank line, that's just there for our convenience. It's actually the first participant card, this P1. That says what follows from here on is actual sort data. So that separates the body of the file from the header, if you like. P1 here could have been anything. If you just use numbered participant cards, then 1 is your first participant. Since in this particular example the very first set of sort results is for an expert data set, we could actually just label this expert like that, and so that would now show up in the various output files as the expert data set. It doesn't matter what you call this first data set. If you tell SynCaps that you're using expert data, then the first participant is the expert. Doesn't matter what he or she is named. And of course, obviously, you can use that first data set for the existing design. So for a particular layout of navigation in a website or in a intranet, for example. The group and item labels that appear in the header can either just be typed in, a little bit time consuming if you've got a long list of group or item names. A typical sort might be, for example, around 50 items, and certainly sitting down and typing those all in again is not a great deal of fun. So what you can do is to use the templates that we've provided in the templates download to produce the list of item and group names. You'll notice there is a file called group list and there's a file called item list, and you simply treat those again as mail merge files and attach them to your source data, and they produce either a group line like we see here, so just a G followed by the first item, a G followed by the second item, and so forth, or an item line, so an I followed by the first item, an I followed by the second item, and so forth. So that makes it an awful lot easier. You've entered your group and item names into the respective tables in Microsoft Word, and now you can just produce the item data and copy and paste it straight into the header of this file. When it comes to the actual data capture, this is normally a combination of typing and barcode reading. If you're not using a barcode scanner, then it would just all be typing, and you can see how straightforward that is. So if you've got a participant card, you type P followed by the participant name or number. If you've got a group card, then it'll be numbered if it's a closed group that you've used, so you could just type G3. And if it's an item card, then you type I followed by the item number. And if you're using our quality of fit, and I'll refer you to the website to have a look at what quality of fit is and how it works, then you would key in 1, 2, or 3. 1 is fair fit, 2 is good fit, and 3 is perfect fit. And that just is as simple as it sounds. It goes on the one line, so I4 F3, for example, is exactly what we would expect to see. Now, one thing I want to show you is that the barcode scanner produces exactly the same output as we have here, just very quickly. So if I could either type I4 F3 a little bit slowly, or I could just pick up my barcode scanner, and I happen to have one that I prepared earlier. So here is a perfect fit champagne, and there is I4 F3. You may have heard the little beep. That was just the barcode scanner saying it was happy with that particular barcode, and so you would just repeat that process many times, once for each card. What that actually means is that if, for example, you're having trouble reading cards, the barcodes have become smudged, or maybe you're using an inkjet printer and some of the barcodes aren't quite as well printed as some of the others, you don't have to worry. There's no serious problem. You can just easily key in any missing data. And as I mentioned originally, you don't have to use the barcode reader at all if you don't want to, but it is very much quicker, especially on something like a closed sort like this. I just want to point out to you one really common source of error, and that is that if you were, say, let's skip to the end of this file, you were scanning along merrily, and you went back to see if you'd actually duplicated an item, and you see that you haven't, but maybe you've got the cursor in an awkward location, like here now I've got it between the 4 and the F in the penultimate line. Regrettably, that is actually going to cause a serious problem if we try scanning something. What will happen, and I'll show you, is that it simply puts the new scan data in the middle of the old, and here it's just created a very jumbled mess, which Syncaps would warn you about. It would say that it didn't understand this line that just read F3, but it's a lot easier to make sure that you're being fairly careful about how the data file is originally formatted. I'm just going to use Control Z to get rid of that.